Movie theatres have been around for many years, taking all different shapes and sizes, some with dorky 3D glasses and others with special 4D effects, which when the seats move make you feel like you've just developed whiplash from a high-speed collision in a hit-and-run accident. There was once a time when going to the movies was an event in itself, a cherished outing that came with a certain level of excitement and anticipation. Might have been because we were all younger back then, it's easy with rose-tinted goggles and all that. But let's face it, all good things must come to an end. Whilst the silver screen for many years has been the pinnacle of filmmaking magic, modern movie theatres have lost that accolade over recent years. So, dig out your popcorn that you definitely didn't buy at the movie theatre, and let's find out why. First things first, the cost of a movie ticket today feels like a down payment on a smart car. Gone are the days of catching Mamma Mia for the price of loose change found behind your sofa. Now, if you want to see the latest blockbuster movie, you'd better be ready to part with a substantial chunk of your paycheck. Why have movie prices got so expensive over time, I hear you ask? Well, dear loyal viewer, we could say it's because of streaming services, new technology, and ever-increasing overheads for cinema operators. Where whilst these reasons probably aren't wrong, it all comes down to one major fact in life. If you're losing money, you jack the prices up. And those who don't adapt won't survive in this industry, due to the apocalypse of streaming services and pirated movies. So what can they do differently? Many cinemas opt to try and make the experience more of a luxury, and in return justify a price hike that is eye-watering to say the least. I recall last year going down with some friends to the shiny town of Brighton, and we went to the cinema to watch the new Mario movie. 16 bloody quid they tried to charge us. Each. At least the movie was actually decent, because if it was a terrible movie, I'd be asking for my money back. I remember when we used to be a proper country. So yeah, those big seats and reasonable legroom, they're nice, aren't they? Just try not to think about how much you're paying per minute for that entertainment. Speaking of money, and this is a prevailing theme throughout this video, let's talk about the concession stand. Modern movie theatres seem to have forgotten that popcorn is supposed to be a humble, affordable treat, shoveled by the bucket load into your phallic-looking popcorn bucket, which, mind you, is also another expense that you don't simply need. How often have you gone back to an old popcorn bucket 10 years after you've purchased it, which I'm sure you were fond of at the time, but 10 years later has just gathered dust now? Nowadays, you could expect to pay gourmet prices for what is essentially popped corn kernels and a generous drizzle of liquid butter. And if you're craving anything more substantial, like a hot dog or nachos, be prepared to sell a kidney. Maybe I'm just oblivious to the price of stuff when I was a kid and my parents had the exact same conversation those days, but if you live somewhere in which you're allowed to bring concessions into the theatre from the outside, then bring concessions into the theatre from the outside. Perhaps the most frustrating aspect of modern movie theatres isn't the cost, it's the people. God, I hate people. Not you people, no, I mean the others. The audience, that delightful mix of humanity who somehow all had the same idea you did, to escape into the world of cinema, which is fine when those people have proper cinema etiquette and aren't slurping, chewing or talking throughout the entire movie. Whilst this is something that I'm sure movie theatres have had since the dawn of modern cinema, I think people have just forgotten how to conduct themselves in a dark room without being a nuisance to everybody else around them in recent years. Maybe it's the advent of modern technology. Someone is playing Angry Birds during the film, or forgets that they aren't sat at home in their underwear anymore. Come on guys, at least make an effort to try not be an arsehole. Yeah. I remember one time seeing James Bond Quantum of Solace, a very average movie and something which I would probably walk away from and not remember a thing. But you know what? I did remember that movie, and there was a very good reason I remembered that movie, and that's because the mother and son sat behind me for the entire movie. The mother gave a running commentary of everything that's just been said or happened during the movie. So, listening to the same script twice, it's hard to forget. God, I hate people. As mentioned previously, linked to the cost aspect of this whole thing, You can never just go to the cinema, buy a ticket, and watch a normal film. Well, you can, but not without traversing through the many wealth of options that you have today. While cool initially, the gimmick runs dry pretty fast. You have IMAX, which sure it's good when you watch a movie where it's made for IMAX, but if you're shown a movie on IMAX that basically wasn't made for that screen, then why even bother? You then have the classic 3D showing, which, again, whilst cool, they did this in the 80s already with those cool retro glasses, and now it's just seemingly done for the sake of it. While some movies do make good use of 3D, the real issue is when movie makers inject the 3D gimmick into a movie for the sake of it, without any rhyme or reason whatsoever, and when you see one 3D movie, quite frankly, you've seen them all. Other adaptations to cinemas, whilst good, such as extra legroom and whatnot, also in some places allow you to recline the seat, which again sounds luxury. But then we run into the second common problem of this video: people. It sounds great in theory, but in practice, it's a mixed bag. Sure, you can stretch out and relax, but sometimes these luxury seats come with a few unintended consequences. For one, they often reduce the number of seats available, so you might end up paying even more for the privilege of feeling like a sardine in the cinema. And then there's the awkwardness of realising that reclining a seat too far back might have you practically in the lap of the person behind you. First world solutions that, quite frankly, cause even bigger first world problems. We never had this back in the day, mainly because they didn't give us the comfort option. Look, let's face it, modern movie theatres are losing the battle to streaming services. You can make all the reclining seats you want, but the pros certainly don't outweigh the cons. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Hope you like this new format of videos. And if you didn't, then go eat a cactus.